G'day, welcome back to the 40 channel. So today we're going to look at replacing your rear main seal and your pan gasket seal. So I've got oil leaks all over this thing, and while we're doing the 5-speed gearbox change, we may as well change all that out as well. Anyway, let's dump the oil, remove the pan and get straight into it. Just work your way all the way around the pan and doing all these bolts. You can drop the pan. I know there's a lot of gasket goo and silicone and stuff around this, which is they've tried to seal it up. They just haven't used the right gasket by the look of it. Oh, yuck. Good old silicone sealing on this bottom of this pan. They haven't even put a new gasket in. Righto, so as you can see, someone's gone and just put all this red RTV or silicone over the bottom of it. It's just got everywhere. And the big problem is, on top of that, that's why we're getting all these oil leaks, because it hasn't sealed properly. But the other big problem is I'm finding it at the bottom of the pickup, the oil pickup, in that strainer. I'm pulling bits out of that. So it's actually blocking the oil pickup, which is a bad thing as well. So I'm going to clean it all up, rip all this this silicone or the RTV off, clean it up, and we'll put a new gasket on it. So not a good thing at all. Anyway, hopefully this will stop oil leaks, if that's such a thing in a 40 series Land Cruiser. Look at it all sitting in the bottom of the oil pan. Big chunky bits of silicone, RTV, not real good, right where the oil pickup is. So that would have been sucking up and blocking it, which is probably why my oil gauge has been a little bit low. Okay, so the problem is that last time someone did this, they've had a cork gasket in here. There's nothing wrong with that, but they've used the existing cork gasket because this is hard as a rock, super brittle. They've covered the entire cork gasket in this silicone ATV stuff, and it was never going to seal properly. So on top of that, this is broken down. It's got all caught up inside our pickup. There's a whole big chunk of it in the bottom of the oil pan, which is looking terrible, right where that suck up is. Hence is probably why we've had a lower oil pressure than normal. The other thing is, you can buy two types of gasket kits. You can buy the 4-piece kit, which has the 2 sides and your 2 end pieces. These are like rock. They are so hard and brittle. It's just crazy. Look at that, just snaps. It is just rock hard. Now, that's good, but it's been highly recommended to me to use a 1-piece gasket kit. So it all goes in one piece. There's no joins where this end piece comes in to your side gaskets, less chance of leak, and hopefully give you a better seal. Now, the last thing I need to do is there's still ATV all on the bottom of this pan here. I need to go through, clean all that up so the bottom of the pan is absolutely spotless so that the new gasket can seal up well. We're going to clean the pickup, we're going to clean the pan, put it all back together, and then we'll change the rear main seal. Yeah, that is just terrible. Overkill. I've probably spent 45 minutes just cleaning the bottom of that block where this seal goes, cleaning all that silicone ATV stuff off. It has got everywhere and is so hard to get off. But it is spotless clean. Now I'm trying to clean it all off here. Again, it's just a lot of work. Scrapers, razor blades, small screwdrivers. And if you look in here, this is very concerning. All that is broken down silicone and ATV and gasket. Righto, so we pulled the bottom of the pickup off, we cleaned all that strainer off. There was really fine bits of that silicone all through it. Pulled it all out, little strands of it. So this could have been detrimental to the motor. It could have blocked up this completely, starved the motor of oil, and then it's all over. So it's actually really lucky we came across it. We've checked the gears in the oil pump, they look good. Everything else, there's no wear, there's no damage inside the housing of it. We'll put it all back together and we should be sweet. Righto, the quickest and easiest way to get the rear main seal out is to drill a very small little hole, get a wood screw and just screw it straight through. What happens is, as the screw comes into the front of the seal, pushes out the back, it just jacks the seal straight out and falls straight to the ground. Straight out, easy. Can't get much easier than that. Righto, so after you've removed the rear main seal, make sure you give it a really good clean. Get a rag in there, clean out anything. Make sure there's no little nicks, burrs, anything like that, because they can catch that and damage the seal as it goes in. Make sure it's absolutely perfectly clean. It'll pay off, because the last thing you want is that rear main seal leaking again. Righto, let's get it in. We'll give it a quick little spray with some R1, just give it a little bit of lube, and then we'll tap it in with a nice dead blow hammer. Tap it in with just something nice and small, with like this has just got like a nylon head on it, or a dead blow hammer. Nothing too big. Do not use a steel hammer, otherwise you'll damage the seal. Just tap your way around it nice and evenly and we're done. Righto, new rear main seal. Not much to putting it in really. Just lining it up. Use a small rubber mallet just to tap it into place. Make sure it's seated nicely, seated properly. Happy days. We'll spray a little bit of R1 around there just before we put everything else together. Done. Righto, as we were talking before, the gasket kit that came off it was a 4-piece gasket kit. It was totally destroyed and brittle. You can buy them. I have a 4-kit gasket kit, but it was recommended that I buy a 1-piece kit, so that way there's no joins in the corners. Hopefully it'll mean less leaking in the future. They also give you a washer for your sump plug. This 1-piece gasket is more like a rubber, so it's not cork like the last ones or the original ones you buy. So we'll go and try and put that on. What we've also done is we've cleaned out the inside of the sump, so that is the cleanest sump I've ever seen now. All that gunk and all that muck that was in there that was blocking up our pickup. Hopefully we're going to have better oil pressure. The other thing I've done, I've just taken some long studs, these are about 50mm long, cut the back off them, screwed them into the bottom of the block, and then that way hopefully it'll give us a bit of a guide when we're putting it all back together. Alright, let's go and put this gasket on and see if it'll hold up with those little studs we've made, and then we can try to put the rest of it together. Righto, just using those studs as a guide. Righto, let's line these up. It's quite tight on those holes, which is a good thing. And that rubber gasket, it means it'll hold everything into place a little bit easier as we hold it up. It actually sits up there quite nicely with those studs in place. Next thing we need to do, we need to lift the pan up, start bolting it all together. Using those dowel pins to line it all up. We'll just work our way around and put all the rest of the nuts up, making sure that our gasket is nice and seated in place. I'm a real fan of this gasket actually. It's a nice rubber, really flexible. As you're trying to put it all together, you push it up through the rubber and actually holds the bolt in place just around that rubber gasket. And it just seems to mold and fit really, really nicely. You don't have to do it up super tight like a normal rubber gasket. You do it up too tight and you're actually gonna push it out. You just wanna make it nice and firm and seal up. The beauty with that is Phillips head bolts on all of them, so you just do it up as tight as you can with a screwdriver. then a light nip with your ratchet. The other cool thing with this gasket, I can take off my old seal, and it comes with a new one for your sump plug. So now we know that hopefully everything's going to be all sealed up nicely. Righto, so that's done. That was a big job when it didn't have to be, but I'm so glad that we pulled it apart and had a look, because as we said before, it could have been disastrous. Righto, so that's it. Rear main seal is in. You saw how easy that was. It's probably one of the easiest jobs you can do after you go through all the pain of getting the gearbox and the clutch and the flywheel and everything else off. Now, the pan gasket, which should have been a straightforward job, as you saw, was a little bit tricky, but it pays to get into these things and really look at them and see what's going on. That's paid off big time as far as being able to save the motor being starved from oil. And we've got a brand new gasket on there, which I'm really, really happy with. Anyway, guys, that's it for this episode. Keep up with what else is going on. We've got our clutch replacement going on. We've got a 5-speed gearbox upgrade coming up, and a whole lot of other stuff all coming up to Long Drive for a Drought. So if you want to keep up with all that, make sure you subscribe down below. Feel free to leave a comment, and until next time, take care of yourselves.